There's a lot of people out there that can't adjust their driving style, that don't know how or are unwilling to, and those are the guys that, they may excel in open setup races, where they can adjust the car to what they want, But if you get a guy out there with a fixed setup that maybe is a little bit tight, and they're used to running loose setups all the time, they can't make those adjustments to run it properly or run it well. And that I think more than anything else is the true sign of a good racer, is somebody that can make adjustments, not just to the car but to themselves. So, that's how it is.
That's how it is. The first time we were ever teammates. I'll get back to this in just a second.
Pausing.
Nope, not pausing it. I'll just lean over here. The first time we were ever teammates was just this year.
Nope.
Matter of fact, 2009.
That might help a little bit. Yeah, when you go through all the years of online racing or just sim racing in general, aside from when we were teammates at Team SAVATS, online racing hadn't really been done yet. It was obviously back in the IndyCar 2 days and, NASCAR 2 before it became an online event. We had never actually raced online together as teammates, and, he was running over at a league, it's called IndyCar, that he had worked, helped them work on and really, really fix a lot of the problems that was going on there.
Oh, yeah.
And I had run there once before, just kind of popped in and ran, tried to run at Watkins Glen or something like that. And, that was basically just like a little one-off deal, and I didn't do well. And, I came back at the end of their winter season in 2008 and ran the last 4 races there.
I convinced him.
Yeah, he convinced me to go ahead and run.
But I convinced him, I said, dude, you got to come over here. The competition's really good. It's different from what you've been doing for a while, which is mostly NASCAR stuff. He's dabbled in Formula 1 and sports cars and done some other things. But I said, dude, you got to come over and drive these Indy cars. Because, it's just a blast. And the competition's really good. At the time, they had Ishikawa, DNA, Marco, Sean Campbell. There's some really quick guys out there. And myself, so I knew that would be a challenge for him. And I finally convinced him. He's like, all right, man, let's do it. So not only does he come run, he paints like 20 cars. At least, probably maybe more than that. At least 20 cars for different drivers. Some of them didn't even get used by the scumbag bastards. And so we ran as teammates, and it was fantastic. I think we probably won 85% of all the races that we entered.
About that. My first race, in the winter season was at Cleveland, a track I'd actually never driven on before. And very limited testing there, with a brand new mod for me and everything else. I was kind of, basically I got behind the wheel and I followed SAVATS around for quite a few laps, just trying to learn the line around the track. And lo and behold, when I came to qualifying, I was able to get up and basically qualify on the outside pole. Start of the race didn't go.
You got qualified me.
Yeah, start of the race didn't go well. A little bit of a hustle and bustle in turn 1 and damaged the right rear suspension of my car. So I limped the car around and made repairs and whatnot, and came back out and basically almost lost an entire lap because of that, and fought my way all the way back up to 3rd place, and I ended up losing a couple positions there at the end, just where I'd worn the car out so much. But it was my first real foray into the IndyCar League and into open wheel racing in that respect. We went to a couple more races after that.
I just want to break in here real quick and say I was fortunate enough to set a record that race. I led every lap, won the race, has never been done before, and may never be done again, but we'll see. But to this point, I'm the only driver to ever lead every lap of a race and go on to win it. But that was the race at Cleveland. I had a fantastic race.
And then the winter season, as the winter season progressed, like I said, there was only 4 races left when I came in. Ran 2 more races. I believe you won both of them.
At the winter season?
Yeah.
You won Indianapolis.
Well, that was the final race.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't exactly remember what happened in the two races after Cleveland, but the final race of the year was at Indianapolis, and didn't really start out too well. Just one of those ride it out to the end, and worry about trying to race after you get past maybe 50 laps to go or so. And I'd gotten some damage. Somebody had kind of turned into me at one point during the race and damaged the car. Made repairs as best I could, but the car was still slower than what it was, throughout most of the race, and found myself battling with Marco for the win, and was able to get around him with a damaged car. I got around him, and he really didn't try pushing the issue, and I was fortunate enough to get a yellow flag with only a couple laps remaining, and with no green-white checker in the IndyCar series. That was the race, and I ended up winning Indianapolis.
I was screaming louder than he was. That was his first. That was your first win, right?
Yeah.
That was his first win with IndyCar, and I was on the radio screaming him, "Way to go, man! Whoa, yeah, FBR in the house!" Whoa! I was going nuts. I was so happy for him. Then we had the off season.
We had the off season, and it was pretty cool because heading into the off season, we had an idea of what was going to happen for the super season that was coming up. We were going to use the winter physics, which everybody had gotten used to and gotten comfortable with, and were really decent. The only difference would be that the setups, we were going to open the setups a bit up to the drivers, so they could make some adjustments. The winter season was a fixed setup season, and so we went into the off season, and we did a couple races, here, there, and everywhere. We did a Indianapolis race with the kart mod, and
oh man,
we couldn't really figure out why we were running something other than the IndyCar mod, but that's what we ran. So Sean Campbell had run a really, really good race.
Yeah, he did.
And he had a rather huge lead after the final round of pit stops were made, and SAVATS and myself, we were actually lined up together and chased him down. And coming to the white flag, Sean Campbell held, I don't know, I guess it was about a second and a half lead, maybe a second lead on us. And we had actually conserved our boost for the final laps of the race, basically.
We didn't touch our boost at all.
Not at all during the race, and Sean had used his up during the race. And that was actually part of the strategy was, to try and make passes where possible and force guys to use up their boost during the race, so when it came down to the end, we would have it and they wouldn't.
That was the plan. That's what we talked about earlier, where we figure out things to the most minute detail. We had it set for the shootout at the end of the race, and that's what it came down to. That's the one race between us where it came down to a shootout, and that's what we did. We drove past Sean Campbell.
We got around Sean Campbell
if he hit
like he was standing still.
Like he was sitting still. If he would have used his boost, he would have probably blown his engine at that point.
But we got around Sean Campbell, and then coming through turn 4, I had the lead. SAVATS was right behind me.
Let's talk about turn 3.
Oh, was it turn 3?
I got alongside you on the inside going into turn 3. We were almost side by side, and I had the line, and Butch was just like, He has that NASCAR mentality. He was like, He shoved me all the way down there, and, because I raced so clean, I just kind of backed off, because he knows me. He knows how I race. And so he knew he could do that and get away with it, because I wasn't going to put him in the wall or anything.
Right.
So,
but at the same time, if that had happened, if he had gotten into me and we both ended up wrecking, or I ended up wrecking, I would have finished, or the race would have been over. I'd have still had a smile on my face, because that's what it's about. You take those chances, you take those risks with the knowledge of what those risks are. I knew it was a risk to come down like that and chop his nose, but it's the end of the race. It's an Indy 500.
And it's the race at Indianapolis too.
Yeah. So
the emotions are running high. You're not about to back off, and you're going to rough drive at the end if you have to.
Exactly.
And I told him, I said after the race, I said, hey Butch, you really ran me down to the grass going into turn 3. And he was like, sorry man, what do you want me to do? It's Indianapolis. What do you want me to do? I was like, all right, I'll remember. But coming out of turn 4, I only had one more chance to get a run, so I got a good draft going through the short chute, and